the hoops. For the people, by the people. For the culture.
Peace, Jumbo. Welcome to the Vada Hoops podcast, right here on Black Power Media Reloaded. My name is Fernando Cardenas, aka International XB. This is episode 85. We're gonna get right into it. I got my comrade with me, my brother straight out of Cuba, via Toronto, Canada, Vladimir Michel Gonzalez, aka Vlad MG. Vlad, welcome back to the Vada Hoops podcast. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. I appreciate the invitation, man.
Always,
Always good to have these conversations with you, man.
you already know, man. You like one of the co-hosts now, man. One of the co-hosts of the show, man. Appreciate you always being available and taking the time and just building with you, my brother.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So, yo, as always, there's a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on around the world. For us, we always look at things, as from a global perspective. So we're always kind of trying to see what's going on a little bit over here, over there, in order to better understand who our enemy is and what directions to go, how to keep building in the struggle. You know what I mean? Um, of course, we're gonna touch on Cuba. There's a lot going on over there, and it's always important for us, as Afro-Cuban Pan-Africanists, we always want to be in tune with what's going on with our people over there on the ground. You go back home a lot. I haven't been back in a couple years, but you go back quite a lot, and so that's always positive. But I wanted to touch on something else before we get into Cuba. I have a couple of my comrades and friends, man, from Togo, my comrades from the Pan-African League Umoja, and they're home right now. They're underground, and there's a lot going on in Togo, in Togo, West Africa, and it's something that, we don't speak on a lot. We don't hear a lot about Togo, and obviously, everybody can't speak on everything. There's a lot going on, but Togo is important. There's a neo-colonial regime over there. There's been a dictatorship for years.
I believe it's over 60 years, right?
Yeah,
Is that right?
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. 60 years, man. So for those of you who don't know, yeah, like I said, Togo is a country in West Africa. It's been 60 years, like you said. The Gnassingbe family, they've been in power. And they basically rewrote all the rules, but without the people's accord. You know what I'm saying? So they did a military coup. Gnassingbe did a military coup in 1967, and that's how he seized power. And so his son later took over. Well, he didn't take over. He was given power by the military after Nassim Bey passed away. His son
Mhm.
has been in power ever since. He came in power in 2005, and then in 2024 again they rewrote the constitution with no public input. Just eliminating elections completely and eliminating term limits. There's no vote, no public say at all in a country where, when you have something to say, you can't say it. You have to be quiet. You have to talk in
Yeah.
small groups, but you're not even allowed really to organize. You're not allowed to
Yeah.
organize unless you're organizing for the government with the government's approval. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it makes it very difficult for people to come together and to do any type of protest, which they're not allowed to do. But on June 6th, 2025, so very recently,
Hmm.
the people took to the streets. You know what I mean? They organized and they took to the streets. It was something known. So the government was expecting it already. So the people knew that the government was expecting it. So they knew the repression was coming. So the numbers weren't as big as expected because, for obvious reasons, because people knew they were going to get beat down, they were going to get, locked up and everything. But it still went down, and to some degree, it's still going on. So we just, want to send our, strength to our brothers and sisters on the ground, you know what I'm saying? Those that came out and those that are supporting, on the ground
Yeah.
and also in the diaspora, because nowadays there's a lot actually that we can do through social media help, let it be known, let it be known.
for sure. I believe correct me if I'm wrong, the protest was sparked by the imprisonment of an artist, right? I think it was a concert of something. He criticized the government.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. There's
And
there's a rap artist named Amron,
rap.
a rap
Okay.
artist named Amron, and he's been vocal. He's been
Mm,
vocal, and they in on May 26th he was arrested, and so yeah, you know how it is. Like since he has so much visibility, it's not like he's the only one, but he has some visibility, and he was
yeah.
speaking up. So once they arrested him, it kind of sparked something. You know what I'm saying? The people was like, whoa. And so, he was speaking up for the people, against the government's repression. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, absolutely. After he got arrested, it really sparked everything up. And June 6th was the day. The beautiful part is to see that, the mothers were involved also. The mothers came out, our elders, were out too. It was some people supporting the movement. So that's a beautiful thing. The youth, obviously the youth was there. The youth was what sparked it. Um, but yeah, it's very difficult, man. There's so many places in the world going through this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Government, state repression, man. State repression.
No, and there's a point where people don't take can take it no more, you know. There's a point when people
Yeah,
say enough is enough, you know,
absolutely.
and sometimes it takes an event or a situation like the this rap artist, you know, that got in prison, and that was the what sparked, you know, everything was people were ready for something like that. I mean, something like that happens and people can take it anymore, and then they go to the streets. And also, I understand that the government in Togo is in bed with the West, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, they definitely are. The government in Togo, man, they are in the Commonwealth. They trade and engage economically with not just the United States, but China and France. Obviously, they still have great ties to France, which is their colonizer. So like I said, it's a neo-colonial regime, and recently one of the horrible things is that the Bolloré Group. For those of you that don't know, the Bolloré Group, they're a multinational corporation, French national corporation that does everything from media, transport, logistics. You know what I mean? They're a huge corporation, and they work mainly across Africa.
Hmm.
They're one of the most oldest and most powerful, family businesses in France and globally. They're huge. The Bolloré Group, and they're currently controlling the port in Lomé. Lomé is the capital of Togo, so they're controlling the port with the government's approval. They're controlling
Hmm.
that port, and we have to understand that the port of Lomé is the only deep water port in West Africa, and they're controlling it. They're controlling everything that goes in, out. It's the Bolloré Group. They do everything. So like I said, neo-colonial regime. This is something that has been confirmed. There's other things like there's been two journalists that were prosecuted for defamation of a minister, and it was proven that they were targeted by the Pegasus spyware. This was back in 2021 already. But we know that
Hmm.
the Pegasus spyware was developed by Israel.
Hmm.
So, it's Israeli cyber intelligence. And the Togolese government was using that. So we
Hmm.
could see the ties with that as well. And so yeah, there's a lot of oppression over there. The people have no voice. Anytime they try to do anything, they're either locked up or beaten by the forces. And it's scare tactics. We
Yeah.
know how that works, scare tactics so that the people don't rise up, you know.
So that Pegasus spyware is
hmm
a mechanism to intersect the messages of the resistance, the communication with the resistance. Or...
Absolutely. Like it's a very technological developed cyber intelligent mechanism that, it'll get through, all these platforms that we use. It'll get through WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, all these platforms that we use to communicate, that sometimes organizers use to communicate. It'll get through all of that, man, with that technology. And it was developed in Israel, and it is what all these imperialist countries use. And the Togolese government has used it for their own good as well against their own people.
Listen, people, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we got going on. It's horrible, man. Shout out to our people over there. Hopefully the people will continue to rise. even though we
Yeah.
understand, the dangers, much respect to everybody out there that's in the resistance one way or another, whatever way. And shout out to my brother over there, to my brothers, to everybody, man.
Yeah, shout out to the people in Togo, and
Mm,
and power to the people, and continue the resistance. And I appreciate you talking about this.
no doubt.
I have looked here and there, but I'm not that well informed, and I know that many people are not either. Many people are not in tune with what's going on in Togo. But like you say, it's this is something that is happening in so many places.
Yeah,
But it's important to recognize these struggles and try to and make sure we connect all the struggle, because it's one struggle. All of it is one struggle.
absolutely. And like you said, I'm gonna try to, definitely stay on this and have the comrades on soon, to elaborate on it because they obviously know the subject even a lot better than I do because they're underground and they're from there. But this important. So yeah. So from here, we definitely want to get into Cuba. We'd love to know everybody's take on this. If you have any comments or anything to share in regards to Togo or anything else for that matter. But we appreciate everybody out there checking us out. Um, we're gonna get into Cuba a little bit, and Cuba's in general, it's a specific topic, right? It's a very specific. There is no other place that's quite like Cuba. You know what I mean? Because of the revolution, and because of how things are going over there today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I always try to establish parallels, right? Like comparisons with Cuba, because that's where I grew up, that's where you grew up too, and other parts, and other places, and many ways, I see the privileges we had, growing up in that society, and at the same time, also I see things that I'm like, okay, but this shouldn't happen, this is something that in this type of society, it shouldn't take place, right?
Yeah,
So right now we were talking about Togo, a family in power for over 60 years. So that there is some sort of a relation there, right there. There's a sort of a similarities, right? Like a family in power for a long, very long time. We can establish a difference that, the Togo, the government in Togo has always been in bed with the West. That's not the
yeah,
case with Cuba. So Cuba is
absolutely.
like you said, it's a revolution, and it's fighting the global Western hegemony, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, we have situations in which the people of Cuba, like the people in Togo right now, are demanding, explanations or protesting for things that are happening to them, and they don't always, or very rarely, I would say, receive the proper treatment or proper explanation or proper address to their demands and their questions, right? So
Yeah,
I think there's like you say, it's very sensitive, because on the one hand we have this beacon of revolutionary struggle, and which is all true, but it's very difficult for us. I know it's difficult for you, but it's difficult for me too, to see sometimes how it's only that revolutionary part of the Cuban government is praised, but we don't talk about the issues we have. We don't talk about the
yeah.
problems we have, and how to solve those problems, right?
Absolutely.
Uh,
And one thing that really bothers me is the romanticism from the people. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? That's very much extreme and unnecessary. You know what I'm saying? Because we definitely understand anti-colonial resistance and we have to continue to praise that, you know what I'm saying, without a doubt. But it's about the people, right? It's power to the people. That's what it's about. It's about the people.
yeah,
So when the people have something to say, we have to listen to the people. Even if we understand that, unfortunately, a great majority of our people today, we're going through menticide. So, but we still have to, be with the people, listen to the people, and grow with the people because we are the people. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? We're not the government, we're the people. We're not politicians. You know what I'm saying? So, when people go to Cuba, and I'm talking specifically people from the United States, when they go to Cuba and they come back and they speak about Cuba as if Cuba is like some kind of, I don't even know what to call it, you know what I'm saying? But like they start getting poetic with it and shit. It's disrespectful, man, to the people on the ground because, you know, you can say you had a wonderful experience over there, which you probably will, but the people are going through some shit, man, and it's important for us to speak on that. As Pan-Africanists, we always keep an eye on the root of the problem, you know what I'm saying? But we also have to talk about what's happening currently, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And not necessarily quote people from 25, 30 years ago, you know what I'm saying, when we're talking about the situation in Cuba, because it's not necessarily relevant. That can be relevant for a teaching point, for strategy, for whatever, but
Yeah.
I don't know if
I've
you,
said it before, and I think specifically coming from the US, if you're African person from the US and you go to Cuba, I can understand how you would feel relaxed, right? In terms of how the culture in Cuba is, it's more connected to the communal African aspect of the culture. That means that if you meet someone, if you meet a group of people, then those people will welcome you, and then they will make you feel like you're part of that group already, right?
right.
And it's
But
it,
but but to
it,
but to be honest, I found that in black communities in the US. I
it
found
happens
that, you know what
everywhere.
I'm saying?
Yes,
I
yes,
found
for
that in
sure,
black
for
communities
sure.
in the US coming from outside because I'm not from the US, but when I was living over there, if I would go to my boy's crib, during the holidays because I couldn't go back to Cuba or whatever, I'd find that same aspect, as
Yeah,
well
yeah.
within
No, no,
within
I'm
that
saying
community.
that's only one of the aspects, but there's many things that I think that coming from the US, you would feel more relaxed, and
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
the Africanness in everything, and everywhere, like, I don't know, like, I don't know, it's a
Nah, it
different
is.
feeling.
It's embedded. African culture is definitely embedded in our culture in Cuba, generally
It's
speaking. It is.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
it's a
For sure.
different feeling. So I
Yeah.
get that. But at the same time, like you say, we shouldn't get caught up in that and try to see further, and try to see, yes, you are feeling good, but how are these people feeling? Like really, like how, like asking deep questions, how even the people when they don't have the historical understanding or, political understanding, you can ask questions that will guide you
Yeah.
as to what the real situation is for those people, right? Like, I don't know, like, have you ever stayed in a resort? Do you think they will let you in a resort? No problem. Can you
What's
go
your
to
relationship with the police?
What's your relationship with the police? How have you been stopped by the police? Do you think this would happen to other people? Why do you think they stop you?
Mm.
Right? Like those questions, they will even people who may not have the global connection and global understanding, their answers will because they know it happens to them. So you can get a understanding of what's really going on, right? So
Yeah, definitely. And unfortunately, like I started off talking about how, our people are going through mental side, and in Cuba, our people are not escaping that. So when anybody comes back from Cuba and they're saying, oh yeah, the people over there, they know what's up. They understand why they're protecting their country. They understand what revolution is about. When you come back saying that, I know you didn't tap in with the people for real. You didn't. I'm sorry. It's just reality because most of our people are not connected to the struggle in that way. They're just not. That's not true. It's fake.
yeah, especially the
They're
young
not.
people.
Yeah, they're not. They're
Yeah,
just not.
yeah,
So, you know what I'm saying? That's one aspect. I wish they were, but let's not just lie. Let's not just come on our platform and just say whatever because we think it's gonna sound good for the cause. As revolutionaries, we want to be truth seekers. You know what I'm saying? We want to search for the truth. We want to fight against oppression, right? But we don't do that. We can't do that by lying. You know what I'm saying? We can't
yeah.
do that by lying or by misinforming our people somewhere else about what's going on in another place. You know what I'm saying? And so maybe some people just are really blinded by the good feeling of being in the Caribbean and, the rhetoric is wonderful, revolution and all of this, but you got to tap in with reality when you go, you
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
and most of the time, those people are go in delegations, right? And they
Yeah.
are welcomed by government officials, and they're taken to places where people have a political understanding and they understand what the global situation is, and they have the proper position, the proper political position. So they will tell you things that are aligned with your
Or
ideology and
yeah,
also aligned with your views, and also many times will deny or not make any comment on the issues we really have, right?
for sure.
So it's not necessarily in many cases that people are lying, but people are
Yeah,
haven't been exposed,
yeah,
or they don't expose themselves to what all the reality is, or
that's
what
right.
the reality is, because this is what happens the most, right?
That's right. But yeah, yeah, absolutely. 100%. So, we've kind of spoken on this before on this podcast because, obviously it's important to us, you know, growing up over there and going through struggle with my people over there, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't just start becoming a Pan-Africanist when I wasn't over there. I was already doing aligned work underground over there. We understand that they need their voice heard, just like our brothers and sisters need their voice heard in Togo. Our people need their voice heard in Cuba as well. And, the government is not the people anywhere.
Yeah.
The government
Anywhere.
is not the people anywhere. So, you know what I mean? But we do have something specific on Cuba that we wanted to touch on, right? Because recently, Etexa, for those of you who don't know, Etexa is the phone company in Cuba. So basically, it's like if that was Sprint or AT&T or whatever, but it's only one. They control everything. They control internet, phone, all of that, right? So Etexa has always been not kind of, it's basically according to the average salary, prices are too high to really have internet and all of that. But our people in Cuba, they do things on the side. They don't just rely on the small portions and the small salaries. Because they can't really, but they find ways. They work around, sell something over here, whatever. They find ways to make it happen. So, but now at Texas, not only did they raise internet prices, but they made it so that you can only have so much internet, and after that, I forget what's the exact amount, but it's not a lot. And after that, in order for you to have internet access, your phone or your computer, or whatever, has to be charged from overseas. You have to have someone overseas that can, you know, give you internet access by paying. And so obviously this creates a problem, right? First of all, we start seeing the same racist shit that we've always seen. Why? Because who has the most access to people overseas? It's the white Cubans usually that have, white relatives overseas or white people that can, that can send them internet access. And it's been the same throughout the years. Like who has the best job, the quote unquote best jobs, the jobs that can create more revenue. It's the whiter Cubans or the lighter skinned Cubans. They've always had more opportunity on the island. Even when we're talking about, I know, education is free, but even when we're talking about the opportunity to go to college, for example, the white Cubans have more of an opportunity to do that. But with this here, it makes it tough for people. So basically, if you have no family overseas, or or no close friends, you're very limited. But we have to understand modern day, a lot of people are relying on internet for a lot of things. So now more difficulties.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody needs the internet for communication, but also for entertainment. Like when there is those power outages, people try to have their phones charged, and then when you have a power outage for, I don't know, an hour or more,
Or six
uh, uh,
hours.
6 hour, whatever, many times what people do is just watch stuff on their phones. They watch whatever they whatever, so to keep themselves entertained or whatever. Um, so yeah, there is this that increased significantly the price, and not only that, but people cannot add internet from inside. It can only be done from the outside. Of course, this was not a popular decision, and some of the people that expressed their disagreement with this price increase, it's the students in the university. I believe it started in Havana. The students got organized and they decided to stop attending school until they removed that or they didn't apply that price increase for the communications. And I think it's been very successful in the sense that it has caught the attention of national attention and international attention. And the students have been doing great. Everybody's very proud of the students. The students have been having conversations with the management of this company and also with government officials. And the students have kept their ground. They have established that it's unacceptable. One of the things that were proposed to the students by the management of this company and the government officials was to reduce the price of the internet for them. So they agreed
So they try
to
to cut a deal. Yeah, they try to cut
they
a
try
deal.
to cut a deal with the students and say, okay, we will give you a price that you can afford so you can continue to study and that's not affected. And the students rose up to the revolutionary occasion, man, and they said, no, no, because it's not only us, it's
Yeah.
our teachers need the internet and our mothers need the internet and the grandmas who don't have their children here who left trying to find a better future need the internet and the people who don't have nobody outside but that the internet is the only thing they have to just forget about their situation that those people also need the internet, so they said it's affordable internet for everybody or for nobody.
Mhm.
And that was that was amazing. That was amazing.
Yeah, 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 no doubt. I wanna make it also clear that there's a group of young socialists in Cuba, that are also involved in these protests, and they're also getting support from the International Socialist League of Argentina. You know what I'm saying? So which is a beautiful thing because international support is important, in these
Yes.
things. And one of the reasons why we speak about this, on Vital Hoops is because unfortunately, Vlad and I always say this, but whenever something happens in Cuba, our media, which means, revolutionary media, does not want to speak on it. It's only right-wing media that speaks on it. And obviously, they speak on it from a propaganda stance because, obviously they're gonna want anything that comes out of Cuba to seem anti-revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? But things like these are not anti-revolutionary. They're revolutionary. And it's good to see the youth involved like that,
Yeah.
and standing up for the rest of the people in Cuba.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I was very happy to see that socialist organization in Argentina, expressing their solidarity with the students in Cuba.
Yeah.
That was just amazing. And this is some, people are always talking of ways to help the Cuban people, right? And people do it amazingly in many ways, right? But I think one of the ways is like you say, whenever there's an issue, it's best to provide like analysis of that issue and try to offer solutions to that problem that we have from our perspective, from a leftist perspective, from a Pan-Africanist socialist perspective, than from the right perspective. The right was they will not be silent.
They're
They
gonna
will be
speak
talking
about
about
every
the
little thing
problem.
that goes wrong on the island. They're gonna talk about it. You know
Yeah,
what
they
I'm
will be talking about it. They will be talking and they will confuse the people. That's one of the biggest problems we have in Cuba. People think that in Cuba, the people are well informed or aligned with the values of the revolution. That's not true. That is not true. That is just not true. That is not true for a lot of people.
For the vast majority, it's not true. Of
I
course, you're
go
gonna
there and
find
I talk
people.
to
Of course, you're gonna
people.
find people that
Yeah, I go there and I talk to people, and that's not what I see. And it's not bad people. It's regular, everyday people, decent people, but many people have lost those values, and it's because we are not people on this side of the political spectrum, on the left and the socialists, we are not providing that analysis. We are not providing that perspective, and offer solutions and offer an understanding from this perspective. And the other people are not sitting on their asses, they're doing the work.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. And another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on is, the aspect of media and independent media. I understand that, Western powers are strong, you know what I mean? Our enemy is powerful and they're gonna use any chance they get and they're gonna fund whatever they can. That happens all the time. But the ability to give your people some type of freedom of press, or like to come out with some media, independent media, is key in my opinion.
Yeah.
Thomas Sankara, he did that. Freedom of press, you know what I'm saying? He understood. We know there's risk in that, obviously. But I think it's key. I think it's key because we need the people to be able to express themselves from the ground and to say what they feel and what they're living. And the enemy is gonna get their hands in some shit anyway. They're gonna do it, right? But if we don't let our people speak up, then that means, well, we're hiding things. And so if you're underground and the only people that will give you a hand for you to speak on what you're going through and your issues are right-wing media, then you start thinking backwards. And you start thinking, oh, these people, they're the only ones that actually care about my situation. And that's what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Revolutionary and left wings and radical media is not trying to hear what's going on. They're just going repeating what the state is saying in Cuba. Understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's a real thing that we have to think about, man, and that I believe is important.
Yeah, on that note, I would like to shout out, I recently found La Joven Cuba. I don't know if they are a government organization or not, but I find that they do have a people's perspective on their analysis, of the
Okay.
situation, and they're very critical of the government officials. So I shout out to them. I will continue following them and seeing their information, but so far I think they're on the people's side, and shout out to them. Hopefully more of those sources come out
Yeah.
and provide us with information and analysis that we need.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And shout out to Roberto Zurbano. We reference him a lot because he's one of our, great Afro-Cuban revolutionaries on the ground, still doing the work. And he's also very happy about this protest. Vlad shared with me some of his thoughts, and he finds hope in the youth, speaking up and
That's
so
right. That's right. He said what he said. He was proud of the university students, and it's yeah, that's the word, pride, because those
right.
students have been rising up for to the moment.
Yeah, so definitely check it out, man. If you're listening to us right now, check out what's going on with the students' protests in Havana and in Cuba. Actually, it went countrywide right now,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
countrywide. The students' protest. That's a beautiful thing. And same thing. Shout out to all our people there. And like I said, yeah, please follow that story.
yeah. I appreciate all the people who are doing the work to inform our people and to combat the menticide we are being attacked with, right?
Yeah, no doubt, man. And speaking about menticide, I wanted to mention something that I've seen recently. I hope a lot of people get to check it out. But Vic Mensa. The artist Vic Mensa, he's been talking that talk. And I saw a video of him on Instagram, you know what I'm saying? He was
Mm.
talking about black excellence, talking about how basically black excellence is a scam because black excellence replaced black power. And it's all about individualism. And when we speak about menticide, that's real because a lot of our people are stuck on that black excellence thing and on doing good individually and on making it. And with that focus we end up stepping on our own people, you know what I'm saying? And the whole get rich or die trying, and making it by any means, and what the fuck is making it really? When we talk about menticide, that's one of the first things. Like, we have to redefine success, redefine a lot of things. But to get back to Vic Mensa, I thought that was dope. Did you check it out? Did you check out the video?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did. I
Yeah.
did. I had seen it before. I had seen him talk about that before, and it's dope. It's very nice to see, he's an artist, right? And he
Yeah.
has a big following, and
Hmm.
someone that big, providing that message, it's refreshing and it's very radical, the message he's sending, the system is trying to confuse us all the time and to have us go in ways that are not the way we need to go, you
That's
know?
right.
Yeah, man. So we need to see what the condition of our people is, right? So depending on the condition of our people, those are the steps we need to take, And anybody trying to become a millionaire is not solution for your people. Your people are under colonialism right now, right? Everywhere in the world, right? Our people are under colonialism, oppressed.
Yeah.
So aligning with the oppressor is not a solution, right? Um,
Absolutely.
because black excellence, it's kind of like those black people who have made it, they have been presented to us as the people we need to follow, right? As
Yeah.
the
They're like the examples. You know what I'm saying? Like, we
yes, the
need to be
example.
like them. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. But if we agree that we are oppressed and we need to liberate all the people, then you know that is a distraction, because those are not the people who are fighting oppression. those are the people who are aligning with the oppressor, right? As a matter of fact, the oppressor, created a space for them to be there to distract us from what we actually need.
Yeah, for
So
us to
that's not
aspire to be like them. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. From that perspective, that's not black excellence. Black
definitely.
excellence is the people who are fighting for us, the people who are organizing, who
Hmm.
are providing us with the information that we need, the
Yeah,
people who are trying to understand better our history and our struggle, right? That is black excellence, the people who are guiding us in that direction.
no doubt, no doubt, man. And
Yeah.
shout out to all of our people that are fighting for us constantly and doing the work. I heard Seun Kuti, Seun Kuti said something
Mm.
great, man, something interesting. We're always talking about, free Congo, free Palestine, free Sudan, and rightfully so, you know what I'm saying? But he said free Europe from right-wing fascism, you know what I'm saying? And I thought that was so on point, man, you know what I'm saying? Because he was like, once you free Europe from right-wing fascism, the Congo will be all right. You know what I'm saying? And Palestine would be okay. You know what I'm saying? And so, it makes so much sense. The great thing about that is also that it makes us understand that the problem is right here. You know what I'm saying? Those of us that live in the West, what I'm saying? That the struggle is going on right now and that there's no escaping the struggle. No matter where we go in the globe, we have to struggle against oppression. So him saying that was deep. It seems like something simple, but it's really deep. You know what
It's
I'm saying?
deep. It's
It's deep.
radical. That's
Yeah,
that's he's going to the root of the problem,
for
right?
sure. For
He's
sure.
going to
Shout
the
out to
root of the
Seun
problem.
Kuti, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Seun Kuti.
That was dope. That was dope. I
Yeah.
I love that. And the system, the people who manage the system create many distractions for us, like again, black excellence, create your own business, create your own community,
Yeah,
separate
yeah, yeah.
yourself and create your own community
Yeah, like
away
these people
from
are no
the
good.
yeah, from whatever, and even when those things some way can work, that's not solving the problem. Because if you don't go to the root of the problem, the dominant culture, like a white hegemonic system that dominates the world, if you don't attack that, then you will be so your business will be bought out and you will eventually go back to poverty. The community that you create and separated yourself from the rest, it will be invaded eventually and
Hmm,
they will take whatever you have,
that's right.
so if you don't go to the root of the problem,
Yeah,
which the root of the problem is that the European culture, right? The European dominant, hegemonic, extractive, exploitative culture, like
for
if you
sure.
don't go there, you're not solving anything,
Mhm. That's right. That's
right?
right. To end on that, man, shout out to the people mobilizing against ICE, man. From New York to LA. You know what I mean? Fuck ICE. They've been doing some nasty, nasty work, man. It's been rough, man, to see they're showing their true colors for real, man.
Yeah,
Shit is
yeah,
nasty.
yeah. They have no,
No humanity.
no,
That's what we,
no humanity, man. They're separating kids from their mothers. I saw today they had a child handcuffed, a young girl
it's
handcuffed,
nasty,
like
man.
and those people that you see their faces, they don't care. But these people have never seen us as humans.
Yeah,
That's why they do it. They don't see any value in us. They don't see us as fathers, as mothers. They don't see us as humans. They
they don't.
see just you know, not even animals because we like if you're conscious, you don't do that to animals,
Yeah,
You
exactly.
don't do
Yeah.
that to nobody, but they don't have that. They don't have soul, man. They don't have that soul,
Yeah, and the worst part is that the dehumanization bled onto our own people. So our own people will watch that, they'll see that, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, those are bad people. Those are delinquents."
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll come up with some excuses. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Shit is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're going up against. Like you said, we have no idea who our enemy is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We don't know who we're dealing
Yeah,
with, man.
we really don't know what we're dealing with. It's deep, man. It's deep.
Yeah.
All
Shout
right.
out to the resistance.
Yeah, for sure.
I see Los Angeles, the people of Los Angeles are fighting back.
Mm-hmm.
Shout
Mm-hmm.
out to them
No
and
doubt,
shout
man.
out to the resistance everywhere.
Yeah, it's global. It's global at this point. It's global at this point because we're all connected. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is, man. Struggle continues, my brother. I
For
appreciate you
sure.
coming through once again. Everybody follow Vlad. Give him a follow on IG. His stories are always dope. And Habana Negra, we're still working. We had a great episode recently. Unfortunately, it's not gonna be released, because our guest uh chose to keep the episode for herself. She chose to not release it. She wasn't happy with the results, but it was great material though. So unfortunately, but it's all good. We're on to the next one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
we
we'll drop
continue to
a
work. We continue to
yeah.
provide this, to bring people on and talk
Yeah.
about these issues in Spanish,
Yeah,
So
Habana Negra. For those who don't know, yeah, that's our Pan-Africanist show on YouTube, Habana Negra, where we speaking on, various issues from a Pan-Africanist perspective in Spanish. And so yeah, we usually get to Cuba a lot, but not only. We speak about just everything globally, but it is in Spanish from a Pan-Africanist perspective. That's not easy to find online. So we take pride in this Habana Negra. Also, I did want to plug Gente Negra, which
mm,
is a Pan-Africanist magazine out of Argentina, right? I believe, and
that's right.
the comrade Vlad is contributing with them, writing certain articles, etc. And I had the honor to be on the cover with my cousin and 340 MS partner AB. We were on the May cover, May 2025. As Vlad dissected one of our songs, the maroon chant, the maroon chant of Nuestra Historia, our history. It's one of our tracks from 2015. But yeah, the magazine overall is really dope. It's in Spanish again, so if you speak Spanish, please, check it out. I'm gonna put the info down in the description. Gente
That's
Negra,
perfect.
online Pan-Africanist magazine out of Argentina, and Habana Negra, our show. Also, I'm gonna put the link to Roberto Zurbano's, article on the New York Times. Don't worry about the title. The title is some bullshit that they made up, but the article is his. It's his article that he wrote. Obviously, we know the New York Times is the
Yeah,
New
the
York
New York
Times.
Time with New York Time.
Yeah, right. They're gonna do what they do, but the article is really his and it's dope. So please check it out. And yeah, that's it, man. We appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation, man. It's always nice to have this chat, to have these conversations and
Always, man.
talk about all our issues.
Always, my brother. You already know what time it is, man. The struggle continues, man. Uhuru.
Peace, man. Uhuru.
All right. That's it. Episode 85 Vital Hoops Podcast. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that bell. Go to blackpowermedia.org. Leave us a comment below. Follow us on Instagram at Vital Hoops Podcast. And stay tuned for more. Vital Hoops for the people, by the people, for the culture. Uhuru.